Good evening, everyone. This is Glenn Cody. I'm your Select Board Liaison for the Acton-Boxborough Regional School Committee. It's good to see you all again. It's been a bit since I've been here, but happy to give you all a little bit of an update on what we've been up to on the school committee recently. To say we've been busy is an understatement, so I will do my best to provide some context for this board and the constituents in the community listening. So this will be brief. On March 19th, the school committee met to discuss geographic enrollment, flex zones, transition policy. The final scenarios of these proposals are and have been open for public comment for about 2 weeks now. Once again, the most reliable source of information is on our website, the official school committee website. I encourage members of the community to approach social media and Facebook with a healthy dose of skepticism and a grain of salt. The way these algorithms work is that the most inflammatory stuff rises to the top, and nuance and depth is not exactly a business-friendly model for that. So I get that people are seeing a lot of stuff on Facebook. I really do encourage people to just go straight to the school committee's website to get the most accurate and up-to-date information about what exactly is happening and why. It's an emotional subject. We're doing our best to guide the community throughout this. We understand that there's a significant amount of disagreement on this, but we're doing our best to move forward in service of the kids and our excellent school system. So our final vote on geographic enrollment is this Thursday, April 9th. The community is, of course, welcome to come. What I also just want to close with this and just stress, what we believe at the school committee is that this restructuring process, and the numbers have this laid out quite clearly, we save nearly $17 million over the following 10 years. I need people listening at home and watching to sort of sit with that number for just a little bit. Because if that did not happen, the next place that comes is with staffing cuts. I personally, just speaking on just myself for just a moment, I can't speak for the entirety of the committee on this following thing. Yep, 30 seconds. I was very clear when I sat at that chair a little bit during the previous year's League of Women Voters Candidate Forum that I feel we can afford to lose a physical building, a physical space. What needs to be protected is staffing. And I feel I've been very consistent with that. I understand that we have many strong opinions in the community. The part of the democratic process is being able to handle conflict and disagreement. I think $17 million over the next 10 years is nothing to sneeze at. We are the 16th best performing public school district in the state. I think we should keep that forward. Thank you so much. And just wrapping up very quickly, public comment is, of course, always welcome. The school committee's main shell email is the best way to get us to all of our eyeballs. Please reach out with any questions. We support our kids. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other resident concerns?
Hello, Pam Nurse, 2 Half Moon Hill. I am running for the select board, and as part of that, I've been spending time going door to door to meet people in our community, and I just wanted to share that in the process of doing that, some of the concerns that have been rising to the top, really have been about affordability, about the environment, and of course about schools. So just thought I'd take this to share that with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. We will be commenting on warrant articles later on. Yep. Any other question? Any other resident concerns? Oh. Nobody online. Okay, thank you. We'll move ahead. Town manager update.
Thank you. I have a couple quick transition announcements that I wanted to mention, and then Tom has a couple other things. So we posted a few jobs yesterday online, and I just wanted to make sure that people understood what was happening. Our building commissioner, Ed Mullen, has accepted a job as a town manager in a town in New Hampshire, so we congratulate him on that. He's starting there later this month. And our Council on Aging Director, Sharon Mercuro, has announced her retirement for, earlier this summer. So we have, in addition to the police chief, which we were already starting the process for, we have some pretty big positions that we'll be filling this spring. So, and we'll recognize those folks that are leaving when they leave, but I just wanted to mention that in case there was any questions from the public about why those jobs were posted.
Thank you, John. Two quick updates for the board and announcements for the community. The sample ballot, as you heard from a person who's running for office, the sample ballot can be found, it's been posted today, it's at the town clerk's website underneath the elections page option. So there's a banner on the left-hand side. If you select elections, you'll be able to see what your ballot will look like come later on this month. The second update, and it's more of a reminder for the community, fourth quarter bills for your property taxes are due May 1st. A convenience option, if you do not have an opportunity to swing by town hall or would rather hand it or drop it someplace instead of in the mail, we do have a drop box on, at the front of town hall. It's next to the ballot drop box. It'll be real easy to see. It'll be the only one that's unlocked at night, so you can drop your ballots in there, or your bill in there. And those are the two updates for the board.
Okay,
Can I ask you just,
David.
when does early voting start? If you don't know, we can get to it later. I've heard conflicting things, and I just wanted to ask the question so the public could hear the answer.
Sure, I'll have that in just a moment.
Okay, the only item that I have is just a reminder for folks that the Francis Faulkner Awards will be given out Wednesday, April 15th at 5 p.m. And we're going to be meeting down in the 17 Woodbury Lane location. So certainly, these are very well-deserving volunteers that we are recognizing, and certainly members of the public are encouraged to attend. And I will open up to my colleagues. David.
So perhaps we can start calling 17 Woodbury the Aesop Parlin House. I understand that some people objected to Aesop Parlin because although they were related, because they reused names all the time, that wasn't Asa Parlin's house, but after it took some discussion at the Historical Commission before they actually settled on what was really true, they're getting the plaque that says, the plaque has been made actually, I don't know if it's on the house, Asalph, A-S-A-L-P-H, Parlin House. So maybe we can start calling it that. And I wanted to add one thing, just a matter of interest to the public from what Glenn Cody said, is that the school committee and the school district are looking to have the school assignments based on the new geographical zones that the school committee will be voting on Thursday, available for parents by the end of the month.
Okay, Alyssa.
Thank you. I just wanted to let the board know that last week, the Board of Health voted to recommend warrant Article 11, and that warrant article is to establish an opioid settlement stabilization fund. I don't believe we typically print that in the warrant, but I think it'll be helpful for folks to know that the Board of Health does recommend it. Also, I think Jim's going to talk about one forum, but I wanted to mention another one. On Thursday this week, starting at 5:30 p.m. at the ActonTV studio on Craig Road, there will be a Meet the Candidates event that's hosted by the Acton Democratic Town Committee. And also, there will be a league event on Election Day from 5 to 6:45 p.m. at the Acton Memorial Library. It's a town meeting warrant drop-in. So it's hosted by the league, but I believe that warrant article sponsors, and possibly staff will be there to answer questions about warrant articles.
Thank you. Jim.
A couple of people wrote to me asking about item 3, approve proposed policy on natural gas pipeline replacement requests, and they said they couldn't find the proposed policy, and that's because there is no proposed policy. I'll use the time in that agenda item to explain more about what we've been up to in that area. Let's see. For the Commission on Disabilities, the main thing I've been working on with the Commission on Disabilities is an updated handbook for members. Working on that handbook raised an issue about some differences between the state enabling legislation for commissions on disability and the way the COD is described in the town's bylaws. I'm meeting next week with town council to sort this out. And if any changes in the way COD operates are called for, I'll make sure to brief whoever ends up being the next COD liaison. And another one about the future, a future without me on the board. The Transportation Advisory Committee needs time after town meeting and probably after you reorganize needs to get time with the select board to get guidance on the relationship between the TAC-owned sidewalk priority list, the town's complete streets prioritization process, and a future pedestrian and bicycle plan, if that gets funded. I know there's a grant request for that. So the advisory committee has been working on updating the old sidewalk prioritization list under the assumption that it would provide useful input to the other processes, but they need to make sure this work is needed and wanted. They started by asking the town manager's office, but John correctly pointed out that the manager doesn't get to instruct a select board advisory committee on what to do. That's up to us. So that may be coming back to you. And then announcements, forums. Yes, there will be the traditional League of Women Voters candidate forum. That's on the day before the Democratic Town Committee's forum on the 8th of April at 7 p.m. right here in room 204. I guess also in addition to the league having their drop-in session, I should remind us that on Thursday, April 16th, town staff are sponsoring a session here at 6:30 on the two big capital items, the DPW design and the town HVAC, because those are, they're complex topics that have had a lot of questions, and we want to make sure people have a chance to hear the information and ask questions in advance of town meeting. I think that's what I got. Thanks.
Thank you. And just to piggyback on that, on Thursday, April 16th at 11 a.m., we'll be having a discussion specifically about the Public Works facility at the Council on Aging. So that'll be lots of opportunities to learn about the project on Thursday the 16th. Fran? Okay. So, item 3, Jim.
Oh, yeah. So I've been working on a staff working group that's working on parts of the long-term goal that's called Research and Develop a Proactive Strategy for Gas Line Replacement, Repair, and Non-Pipeline Alternatives. And I want to update the board on some of what's been going on there, because after you reorganize, you may want to assign a different select board member who actually is on the select board. You may recall that the last time the select board evaluated a replacement request, we almost didn't approve it because we had so many questions and there were not a lot of answers coming back. The cost of doing replacements is quite high. We've been looking at the records that the utilities have to place on the record. It's more than $2 million per mile in Acton to do replacements. The gas company can roll those costs into a guaranteed return of investment by putting it into the gas rates via a program mechanism called the Gas System Enhancement Plan, or GSEP. Last year, the Attorney General targeted this program as being one of the main drivers of increasingly high gas costs for customers. Repairs are cheaper than replacements, but the utility avoids them when possible because they don't make as much money on them. And sometimes it's also cheaper to simply electrify the buildings along a segment. Electrification, called in this case a non-pipeline alternative by the utilities and the Department of Public Utilities, will be key to our transition away from natural gas. We somehow have to undo this network of pipes. The Department of Public Utilities has been making the gas utilities compare any proposed replacements with non-pipeline alternatives. But they haven't gotten very far on figuring out how those would be paid for. Newton, Lexington, Arlington, and Acton have all started looking into this process to understand how it might help in a transition away from gas. So there are, as I said, there's so many important policy questions left unsettled that this will be a slow process, but we are starting. I had been thinking before this working group got going that we simply needed more time when a replacement request came in, but an additional route is now open. Boston Gas representatives from a new non-pipeline alternatives group met with Andrea Becerra, our sustainability director, and the convener of this working group, to offer to help identify segments of the pipeline network in Acton that are at places in the network that could be safely removed if there was a transition strategy in place. In addition to that, staff are willing and able to take this information and proactively interview people who live along those segments to see if they would be interested in electrification if the cost was zero or extremely low. The town has already gotten one grant and is applying for an additional grant to help work on this. The thought is that if we identify segments where homeowners would be willing to be part of this change, that would be helpful information for the DPU as they deliberate on how such work would be paid for by noting that, you know, here's a place where it could happen now. So that they can sort out what combination of gas company money, electric company money, because they'd be getting new customers, and state money because they have an interest because of the Global Warming Solutions Act and getting people away from gas. Which group would pay for this and how? That might even end up being a legislative decision as well. So after the board reorganizes, I trust you will consider who might be a select board rep to this ongoing working group.
Thank you. We've got 3 minutes until we get to our first public hearing. So I'm going to jump over item 4 and go directly to item 5, approve proposed Arbor Day proclamation. I think that's all in your packets. I don't know if you can pull that up on the screen or not. The event will be held on Friday, April 14th. April 24th. So I think this proclamation looks very similar to ones that we've approved in the past. And I would like to see if I could get a motion.
I move to issue this proclamation.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of this proclamation, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Yes, aye.
Opposed? Okay, so approved. All right, and now let's start reading the legal notice for our first hearing. The Acton Select Board will hold a public hearing April 6, 2026 at 6:30 PM, continued from March 2nd, 2026, in the Francis Faulkner Hearing Room 204 at the Town Hall, 172 Main Street, Acton, and virtually at actonma.gov/meeting/SB on the application of Hawthorn Realty Company for a site plan special permit under zoning bylaws section 10.4. Applicant proposes to combine the properties at 471 Great Road and 465 to 469 Great Road and construct 2 buildings to be used as building trade shops. No hazardous materials or waste are to be generated on site. Application materials and how to participate remotely are available online and at Acton Town Hall, doc.actonma.gov/view/collection-19387. The applicant has requested a continuance to April 27th, 2026 at 6:45 PM. David.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to let folks know this has been continued a few times here because this project has been waiting for a response from the state DOT on the curb cuts onto Route 2A 119. That response just came today. So recently that I'm assigned to this project, so recently that I did not have a chance to read it. And besides that, we already agreed with the applicant to continue this. So I just wanted to know that I think we'll be able to do it next time, since the state has, unless there's some problem with what the state said, I assume we'll be able to do it next time. So in any case, I move that we continue this public hearing to April 27th, 2026 at 6:45 PM.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, continued. We'll jump back to item 4, approved draft support letter for Bill H. 965 S. 2721, an act restricting the use of rodenticides in the environment. Alyssa.
Thank you. So we received a request from some residents who are part of the Green Acton Biodiversity Committee to send in a letter of support for legislation that would restrict the use of second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides. It has moved out of committee. It's been moved out of committee favorably, but there's a new proposal to have it incorporated into the Mass Ready Act, the governor's environmental bond bill. Has a lot of support. In addition to myself and the folks who brought this request, there are many Acton residents who have been engaged in learning and advocacy about the dangers of these pesticides. So for the most part, the language in this letter was taken from the drafts that were sent into the board, the letter that you see in the packet, and I would like to invite Carolyn Davis up to just speak about their efforts so far on this.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Alyssa, and rest of the board for considering this. I prepared, this should be just 3 minutes. So just last week, a family near Weymouth found a sick, red-shouldered hawk in their yard. Her mate was calling her from a nearby tree. They took her to the New England Wildlife Center. The vets found severe anemia and delayed blood clotting time. These are both symptoms of exposure to anticoagulant rodenticides. They gave her a blood transfusion, vitamin K to improve blood clotting, and pain meds to keep her comfortable. Sadly, she died the next morning. So these anticoagulant rodenticides, also known as SGARs, kill rodents slowly over several days. When hawks, eagles, owls, foxes, and other predators eat the poison rodents, the toxin bioaccumulates in the food chain. These animals suffer from internal bleeding, weakness, and ultimately a slow and painful death. Thankfully, the town of Acton stopped using SCARs in town buildings in March 2025. The schools use them, but they want to stop. Federal law prohibits the retail sale, so individuals like us can't buy them, but they can be and are used by licensed pest control companies. I live in South Acton, and I counted 59 black bait boxes in South Acton alone. There's a high probability that they all contain SCARs. Per Massachusetts law, towns cannot regulate SCAR use on private property. So this bill, an act restricting the use of rodenticides in the environment, would ban their use unless there's a public health emergency. Rodent control is necessary. No one is advocating for more rats. But there are safer, effective choices. Integrated pest management, known as, or IPM, includes sealing entry points, eliminating food sources, and targeting remaining rodents with non-poison methods such as snap traps, rat X, dry ice, and contraceptives. As a last resort, vitamin D3 can be used. Ironically, the hawk that died provided excellent rodent control. She probably ate 1,000 mice the prior year. Rick Kelly is president of Banner Pest Control in Drake, Mass. He says IPM strategies are just as effective as SCARs in real-world applications. When implemented properly, they are also cost comparable. Notably, Rick switched 35 schools from SCARs to IPM. No school incurred a cost increase, and for some, the cost went down. More proof of effectiveness can be seen in other towns. Arlington, Newton, Lowell, Concord, Lexington, Brookline, Newbury, Somerville, and Waltham have all banned or restricted SCARs on municipal property. The trend is clear. According to Mass Audubon, over 100 communities in Massachusetts are working on reducing the use of SCARs. Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa? Yep.
Is there anybody online? Nope, okay. So I move to approve the letter of support for Bill H965 S2721, an act restricting the use of rodenticides in the environment.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Jim?
I just want to appreciate Carolyn and the Green Acton Biodiversity Committee, which is a new committee for Green Acton, in the careful work, careful research, all the outreach, and a clear presentation of why this is important.
Okay, we'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, it's passed. Our next hearing is going to be at 6:45, so we'll jump ahead in the agenda we'll try item 7, discuss and vote on notification of the Massachusetts State Lottery Commission regarding an addition of a Keno monitor to existing to-go agent at Acton Golf located at 289 Main Street. John?
So one of the responsibilities of the board is to approve or disapprove some questions like this. You do liquor licensing and some types of lottery things. So this is a business that's looking to expand the offerings that they have at their establishment to provide this Keno to go feature, which is a newer type of Keno. If there are any questions, I can do my best to answer them. Lisa is our licensing expert, so she can also help us out if anything comes up.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Alyssa?
I have a question about the expected increase in sales. I see in the packet that the memo says there's an estimate of 500 people weekly traffic, but is that what exists now for the to-go Keno, or is it an expected? Okay. Nobody knows. Am I correct in understanding that if the board were not to just approve this, that we would file a request for a public hearing? Is that the process that works? That's what the internet said. If we
We can,
move,
I didn't anticipate this question coming up or any concerns over this, but we certainly could look into that and get back to you.
okay. Well, I was trying to understand, there was a change in the legislation, and so Keno was offering, or the state lottery was offering to existing to-go sellers this additional monitor for, on-site, looking at the sales. And it sounded like if we had an objection that we would ask for a public hearing, and I wanted to get the sense of the board about whether or not they thought that this was something that would be a good idea to have the public weigh in, or if this, since it's notified on today's meeting, that might be just sufficient.
Jim?
If I'm reading this correctly, if we wanted to object, we would have done so in writing within 21 days of the receipt of this letter. The letter's dated March 13. Maybe we received it a day or two after that, but I think our time may have already run out on this.
Fran?
Just add, it's just putting a monitor in there, it's not changing the way that it's played, it's just putting a monitor in the station, right?
Yes. So right now, if you didn't have this, you would go to the checkout, buy the Keno tickets and leave and go figure out what the numbers were that won some other way. In this way that they want to do it, they want to have a monitor that they can show in their store so people can see if they won or not. That's the difference between what they have now and what they want to do.
Well, seems sort of inconsequential to me. I can't see needing a public hearing on it, but I could be convinced otherwise.
No, I don't really have a strong feeling about whether or not we have a public hearing that's posted. The only difference is that if there was a public hearing, it would be posted in the paper rather than on, the lottery website. And I do appreciate the additional information that was added to our packet today that describes the need to show an ID to prevent underage purchase of these tickets, and that right now, I did not understand, I thought that currently you actually don't get payout on site, and that this would change that, but apparently it is a payout on site. So to answer your question, Fran, it sounds like it's just playing the game but faster, because you don't have to take the ticket home. You can learn whether or not you won on site. So I just wanted to check in with the board, bring it up to make sure that folks didn't think that a public hearing was advisable. But I don't have a strong feeling about it.
Okay, I'll accept a motion. David?
I move that we approve the request for a Keno monitor at the Gulf Station on Main Street.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions.
I'll abstain.
Okay. So, it being 6:45, the Acton Select Board will hold a public hearing on April 6, 2026 at 6:45 PM at the Acton Town Hall, Room 204, 472 Main Street, and remotely by video conference and call-in on the application of N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, for the installation of 16 poles on Quarry Road, easterly side, approximately 2,420 plus or minus feet north of Main Street. From a computer, enter in the link ID actonma.gov/meeting/SB, or from a telephone, dial 646-876-9923 and enter the webinar ID number 503-918-785. Telephone users may dial *9 to request to speak after joining the meeting. Computer and app users may use the raise hand feature to request to speak. And is the applicant in the virtual audience?
Yeah, it looks like someone's raising their hand. We'll let them in. Jacqueline Duffy.
Jacqueline Duffy, you've been unmuted.
Hi, how are you tonight?
We're doing well, thank you.
Excellent. We'd like to install 16 poles, pole 91 over 20 through 91 over 35. This work is to provide electric service to the new development located at 123 Quarry Road. I'm filling in for Chris Cosby tonight. Sorry, I should have said that first.
Okay, thank you. We recently got in our packets dated today, a memo from the engineering department regarding this poll petition. Have you received that yet?
I'm not sure. I would have to check with Chris.
Okay. So I think one of the engineering has reviewed the application and the plans that you've submitted, and they have some issues with a lack of clarity of some of the issues and the impact that a series of poles might have on future development sites along the Quarry Road, as far as potential sidewalks. As you may be aware, Quarry Road is heavily forested. The impact of, depending on where these poles are going to end up, impact on trees, could be a lot of removal of forest cover. So I think that some of us would have some questions about that. So if you had that memo, that would be great. I think there's quite a bit of information that probably engineering is going to want before we move ahead with this, but
Okay. I don't have it on me. I would have to ask Chris tomorrow, and I have to go to the division. Could we continue it to the next hearing?
I think that would be best, just to give everybody an opportunity to digest all this.
Okay, and when is the next hearing?
I'll tell you very shortly.
Okay, thank you.
April 27th, 7 o'clock.
Okay.
All right, so I will ask for a motion to continue this. If someone would.
Sir. I move to continue the hearing until April 27th at 7 PM, right here.
Second?
Moved and seconded to continue. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, I think we've got 10 minutes before our next hearing. So, let's take care of the consent items. It's very lengthy. It'll probably take me the whole 10 minutes to read it. So, consent, item 15, appoint the following to the Transportation Advisory Committee. A, Paula Walsh as an associate member with a term to end on June 30th, 2027. B, Robert Sekula as a full member with a term to end on June 30th, 2028. Item 16, Appoint the following to the Green Advisory Board. Akash Thatcher as an associate member with a term to end on June 30th, 2027. Van Du as a full member with a term to end on June 30th, 2028. Item 17, appoint Carol Phillips as a full member of the Council on Aging Board with a term to end on June 30th, 2029. Item 18, appoint Paula Walsh as an associate member of the Acton Nursing Service Advisory Committee with a term to end on June 30th, 2028. 2029, yep. Item 19, approve request to change of date for previously approved Acton Exchange one-day malt and wine license from April 15th, 2026 to April 16th, 2026. Item 20, approve minor amendment to the Recreation Commission charge. Item 21, approve membership change for Volunteer Coordinating Committee from 5 full members to 3 full members and 2 associate members. Item 22, accept disclosure of non-elected municipal employee David Shoemaker. Item 23, approve farmers market winery license applications for 2026 Acton Boxborough Farmers Market. A, Bliss Point Meadery. B, Saltbox Cider Shop LLC. 24, approve multiple one-day all-alcoholic beverages for Theater 3 at 250 Central Street on May 2nd, 8, 9, 15, and 16, 2026. 25, approve a one-day malt and wine license. Danny's Place at 543 Massachusetts Avenue on April 11th, 2026. Kirkherbert Farm at 32 Parker Street on April 26, 2026. Gabriel Handel at Narrow Park Picnic Pavilion, 25 Ledge Rock Way on June 6, 2026. Andover Food Incorporated DBA Ragani Indian Bistro at Narrow Park, 25 Ledge Rock Way on June 20th, 2026. Family and Friends of Swiss Society at Narrow Park Picnic Pavilion on August 1st, 2026. Item 26, approve meeting minutes for March 16th, 2026. Item 27, approve executive session minutes for March 16th, 2026.
Move to approve consent items 15 through 19 inclusive and 23 through 27 inclusive.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Jim, you had to hold on the Recreation Commission charge.
Yeah, I first put a hold on this, I wanted to put a hold on this just because I think we have had a habit, a practice of always discussing charges in open session with, not on consent. But as I read it, I also had a specific concern, which was, if I'm reading this correctly, the changes, a quorum will be satisfied with the majority of the members currently appointed. I think you might also want a minimum there. To me, the risk is that if you're down to, let's say worst case, 1 member, that would be a valid meeting for making decisions, that one person, which doesn't seem the way we'd want to do it. So maybe a comma with a minimum of however many members David thinks is the smallest reasonable recreation commission.
David?
Sure. So this wording is already used in a number of charges and was selected and was provided by council at some point. So I just would, if we want to attach a minimum, I just want to make sure that the minimum applies to the committee size and not to the quorum, right? So maybe the minimum committee size belongs up above with the number of members? Or what's everybody else's feeling? Do we need the minimum committee size? I mean, we do this for other committees without a minimum committee size. I would say that a minimum committee size might be 2, but I'm happy to add the minimum committee size is 2 to the previous paragraph.
Alyssa?
So if a minimum committee size is 2, then a quorum would be 2 people?
Yeah, because that's a majority.
Majority, okay.
Okay, any other thoughts? So we can move ahead. Jim?
I move to approve the charge with the edit that David has suggested.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, edited charge. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay. Item 21, approve membership change charge for volunteer coordinating committee from 5 full members to 3 full members and 2 associates. Jim?
Actually, don't have any edits for this. I just was following up on the practice of having charges discussed rather than being on consent. But yeah, it's as it says. There's one change, which is to change it from 5 members to 3 members and adding a second associate. And the other change is that the charge used to say that interviews had to be in person. The VCC, in beginning to discuss how they could reorganize to be more efficient, has been talking about having telephone interviews with applicants and then discussing the interviews in a public session. And that seemed like a helpful way to make the VCC process go more quickly and smoothly. So we proposed crossing out the word in person twice in that authorized activities paragraph.
David?
Could we also change BOS to SB?
Good catch. I'd love to change that.
Or spell out select board.
Okay.
So I would move to approve the VCC charge in the packet with the change of, on the last paragraph, changing BOS to select board. And and select board member.
All right.
Second.
Moved. Can I get a second?
I moved, he seconded.
Yeah.
Okay, moved and seconded. Alyssa?
I just want to note that there's also a second Board of Selectmen and BOS at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would move for all changes of BOS to select board and all selectmen to members of the select board.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay, we got that one. Item 22, Jim.
Oh, yeah, so this is the recognition of a potential conflict of interest. And the usual rules of the historic, is this the district commission?
Historic district.
Yeah, Historic District Commission, yes. Would have him recused. And there's another member of the HDC is also too close to vote. So, and it's asking explicitly if permission can be given that one of us may vote, which would mean that the application can be considered in the normal way. So I think that's an actual decision we have to make, is to approve, allowing one or both members to participate in this decision process. I personally know David Shoemaker. I'm totally confident he would be objective in his decision-making despite the closeness of his house to this applicant. So I would recommend that we allow that.
Alyssa?
I just have a question. We are accepting David's participation and Zach will be recusing from this hearing? Okay, just wanted to confirm that I understood that correctly.
Can I just, they've had to, invoke, do you know the completion of that? invoke some sort of rule of,
Rule of necessity.
yeah, exactly, just to have quorum and voting on a project. It has been, you know, it would be great if one of them can vote. Yeah. So I don't know if they would recuse or if they would invoke that rule.
David,
Oh,
Alyssa.
sorry. So that's my question. They've already determined which one of them will be voting
I get-
by
yeah.
necessity,
Yeah.
and one of them
Yes.
will not be. Okay.
So I have two questions. For other permitting boards in towns, like, for example, the Conservation Commission, do they normally recuse themselves if a property is within the boundaries of the abutter boundaries, which is several hundred feet usually?
I've certainly observed that to be the case, for instance, with conservation.
Okay, that's great. And my second question is, what about this building? Haven't they already made and continue to make, if there is, like David Shoemaker took within the boundary for 468 Main, but not for 472 Main? I would find that, I know where his house is. I would find that odd that, and they have opined on 472 Main Street because for the HVAC project. So, I would say that 472 is at least as important as 468 Main Street.
I think, we're really getting into the weeds. I'm not sure what the legal distance is, but I know Mr. Shoemaker, I know where he resides, and he's literally almost directly across the street from 468 Main Street. So I think there might be more of a, town hall is a little bit further away, but it's certainly close. And I think the problem you run into with the HTC is we want to have people that live in the district to deal with these things, and the districts are quite small. So I think you can run into this pretty easily.
And it also is a plea for more volunteers. And I know there are some in the wings for HDC, so, yeah.
Alyssa?
The distance is 100 feet, so it's not going to be, I mean, the road itself is, what, 20 or so? So it's not difficult for me to believe that this building would be further away. But also, did the HVAC project touch the exterior of the building?
Yes,
Okay.
the lower level. Anyway, I, for all the other reasons that people have said, and that I think it's, knowing David Shoemaker also, I think he can be unbiased for these things anyway. So I move to accept the disclosure of the non-elected municipal employee, David Shoemaker, on the HDC.
Okay, could I get a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. We are done with our consent agenda. And now we'll go to our 7 o'clock public hearing. The Acton Select Board will hold a public hearing on April 6th, 2026 at 7 p.m., continued from March 16th, 2026, in the Francis Faulkner Hearing Room 204 at the Town Hall, 472 Main Street, Acton, and virtually at actonma.gov/meeting/SB on the application of Primrose Schools Franchising Company for a site plan special permit under zoning bylaws section 10.4 at 457 Mass Ave. The applicant proposes to construct a two-story, 14,134 square foot childcare facility. Application materials and how to participate remotely are available online and at Acton Town Hall, doc.actonma.gov/dsweb/view/collection-19896. And the applicant has requested a continuance to May 18th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. I have a motion. David?
I move to continue this public hearing to May 18th, 2026 at 6:30.
Okay. Well, can I get a second? Second. Give him seconds. All in favor of continuing? Oh, Frank, yep.
So I was glad that David answered to the other public hearing, because I was curious, can projects just keep getting indefinitely? And is there a reason? Because I was curious if they could just keep pushing it off. No,
So
I was curious.
Yeah, I've observed multiple continuances, sometimes going more like 6 months. But,
Yeah.
I don't know if the town manager has any guidance, or if one of my colleagues has comments.
Yeah, I think they typically provide a reason, and the board always has the opportunity to not continue it, but generally, in my experience, the board has continued it when it's reasonable.
Alyssa?
I will say that I met with staff on Friday and learned the reason for continuing, and I do not remember, but they are getting us some more information, which I believe has to do with the financials, the business viability plan that we requested at the last hearing. And there's probably some other things as well. But the conversation took another turn, and we talked about other things, so that's why I don't remember.
Isn't there also some discussion about curb cut permit, where that's a state highway?
There will need to be Mass DOT approval for that, but we're not at the same place that the Great Road project is.
All right, I believe we have a motion to continue.
Is there opportunity for public comment on this, at this meeting?
On,
On Primrose.
yes,
I'll save the other stuff for later.
certainly.
So I looked at the materials from the last meeting, and just kind of briefly overall, it seems like a very large facility with like 30 or 40 parking spots going on about an acre of land or so. It just seems a little, from a high level, a little out of place, and maybe not, I don't know. I know everyone's got a right to build, I understand that, but I don't know how this project could better fit the area. That intersection is already very congested with the schools being right there. We've already put the traffic light there. And with the other preschool right there, the two preschools, there's actually CBE and Mount Calvary. Just that day when the hearing was supposed to happen, there was a car accident, like right in front of Mount Calvary. So I'm just a little concerned about how large this project would be on that spot, and I don't know. I just want to bring my concerns. I know there were some other public comments that kind of echoed that, and it being on a sloped lot, and I'll be interested to see how this develops, because it just seems a little out of place for that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Renee,
I
26 Taylor.
think they're good issues to raise at their continued hearing on May 18th. Any other comments? All right, all in favor of the continuance, please say aye.
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 Abstentions? Objections? Okay. They are continued. So, item 8, discuss tax increment finance agreement with Insulet Corp. For project at 35 Nagog Park. John?
Thank you. So through the efforts of our Economic Development Office, and I think we mentioned it at a recent meeting, we've worked with a local company, international company, but who happens to have their headquarters locally, Insulet, and they're looking to grow somewhere, and we're encouraging them to grow here in Acton. They've identified a few places that they're considering, but the one that we are focused on is 35 Nagog Park, which is an existing partially occupied building. They are proposing to acquire it and invest substantially in it, and are asking that the town consider a tax increment finance agreement which would provide for a tiered program where the incremental taxes generated on that property, which are more than there are today, that they receive a discount on those for a period of time. In some cases, we've had TIF agreements that are 20 years, some are 10 years. I would expect this one to be somewhere in the middle of that. And we are still finalizing and negotiating that with them, but in order to implement a TIF agreement, the select board first, or at some point needs authorization from town meeting. So what we're proposing to do is to add an article to the warrant, to have the board explain this to the town meeting voters, and see if we have authorization to finish this project. And then we'll work with our partners at the state. We've already been working with the governor's office and the Office of Business Development, because they're working on this project too. And if successful, it would come into play after they make the investments. And, you know, they have to outline, and we'll have in time for town meeting, the amount of investment that they're making and the amount of discount that we would give them off the incremental new tax revenue. And I hope that it's something that people support, because we're doing everything we can to keep businesses active here. And this is an opportunity for one that has grown a little bit to grow some more. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions? David?
So we're just voting to put this on the warrant at this point, right now, not knowing the details that'll be in the motion?
That's correct.
I'm fine with that.
Other questions, comments? All right, well, you said I'm fine with it. Would you like to phrase that as a motion?
So I move to put put a TIF agreement on this year's town meeting warrant with Insulet Corp. at 35 Nagog Park Drive.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Other discussion? Anything, any input from the audience? Okay. We have Jim.
Just to say out loud what I think I heard David say, there's a separate discussion at some future time where we decide whether we recommend this TIF or not, and that'll be after we get the details, right?
I would hope the board would consider doing that under Article number 9 in this agenda item, just so that ultimately it's the select board that would have to approve the TIF. So you'd be recommending that you authorize yourself to finish that negotiation. And you know, with the commitment that you do it in the best interest of the community, like the board has done with the last 2 TIFs that were agreed, which both, on all accounts, have been pretty successful.
Got it, thanks.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote. All in favor of David's motion regarding tax increment financing warrant article, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, passed. John, how long do you think this discussion of the town meeting articles is going to take?
I think it's laid out pretty neatly so that you can break away from it anytime you need to.
Okay, let's do that. Item 9, assign, review, and take positions on town meeting articles. Article 2, receive and accept reports. Jim?
When I reviewed the town report, I triggered a conversation with the chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee about a small change to that section of the report. We've agreed on new language. We've sent it in to the town manager's office. So if the board is comfortable with that small edit, I am otherwise totally comfortable voting for the approving the town meeting, the report.
We're voting on a recommendation, right? So one of us needs to move to recommend.
Yep.
Oh, I'd happily move to recommend, that we recommend Article 2 with the amended report.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Alyssa?
Were there any additional items that we are waiting on to include in this? Or am I thinking of the warrant?
That's a great opportunity for me to mention the hard work by Lisa Tommel to get this report in front of you at a select board meeting in the packet, which I don't think has ever happened. I think you usually just get it in your hands at town meeting. And so I just want to mention Lisa and the town clerk's office and a few others worked pretty hard to get this together. I think we have everything. There are a few little copy edits that we've received since this was published, but I think it's ready to roll.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I think I'm just thinking of the warrant. There isn't a big piece that's missing. So I love it, and thank you.
Okay. We've got a motion, we've got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay,
Do we need a select board member assigned to this?
we probably do.
Someone who knows the report inside and out? I think someone has their hand up.
I would suggest that Alyssa would be a great select board person to be assigned to this. Okay. Article 3, budget transfer.
Nothing proposed, but the Finance Committee recommended it, so I think it's worth considering.
Mr. Chair,
David?
I would suggest that we not take any action on this, we just defer, right? Because if some transfer comes up for the snow and ice budget or something that we discuss in our pre-town meeting, then we can vote to do it or recommend it or not, but I would prefer not to provide a recommendation without knowing what the transfer is.
I'd agree with that. Does anybody have any other feelings about it?
I'm happy to be assigned to it if it's the case.
Okay. David, you've got it.
Especially if it ends up being a move to take no action.
Okay. Item 4, appropriations for municipal operating budget. Alyssa?
I move that we recommend Article 4.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions. Okay, I've got my name down here to be the select board member assigned, if anybody else would like to do that. And make the presentation. I think, Alyssa, we spoke about this at one point.
We did. David, did you volunteer at a previous meeting to make the presentation?
I didn't this year, but
You
if
didn't,
people want
okay.
me to, I will.
I'd be happy to, because I do not yet have a presentation.
You'd be happy to have me do it, or you'd be
I'd be happy to.
you do it? That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay, looks like Alyssa. Article 8, Acton Boxborough Regional School District Assessment.
I had thought we voted on this last time, but maybe I'm. Me too. No, it does. It says Select Board recommends in the draft warrant,
Okay, we're all taken care of.
and I'm already assigned.
Okay. Article 10, appropriate community preservation funds. That was sent out to you in your packet. I would note that when we started the discussion of this on CPC, there was a wide range of opinions, but in the end, I believe that all of these numbers were voted unanimously. And I would be happy to do the presentation and be the select board member assigned to it since I'm the select board's liaison to this.
Actually, here, you don't do the presentation, do you? You would just do the,
I will be there to help the chair of CPC in any way he might need it.
fine.
Alyssa?
So can you remind me what the CPC will be discussing at the meeting on the 14th? And is there any potential for changes to this, which would indicate we might want to wait on a vote?
Well, up until earlier tonight, I didn't think there was going to be any changes recommended on this. Primarily, we're going to be doing a final read-through of the town meeting presentation that the chair is putting together with the town staff. And depending on what gets voted in regards to 46 Taylor Road, CPC might be voting a recommendation on the expenditure of open space funds.
But that would be a different article, not Article 10.
That would be a different article.
All right. I move to recommend Article 10.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we got a bunch of placeholders, so we'll jump down. Let's see. Item 16, approve tax increment financing for Insulet for investment in property located at 36, is it 36 Nagog Drive or is it?
No, it should be 35 Nagog Park.
Okay. Alyssa?
I'll just note it's correct in the warrant. I'm comfortable moving ahead with this recommendation, even though we don't have details yet. It seems kind of bold for us to authorize ourselves to negotiate, but that's what we do, and we will definitely have the community's best interest in mind. And I did learn today, which I did not know before, that the very first TIF for Insulet was quite a generous TIF, where they did not pay taxes for a few years. So I think that this is going to be better for the town than that original, which turned out really, really well for the town, because now they are one of our, if not the largest employer in town. And I think the town manager has something to add.
Can I just clarify that they did pay taxes? They just didn't pay taxes on the increment that they invested in the property.
Sorry, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, sounds like we have a motion.
Can I ask one other question, though? People in town will be curious about the details at town meeting. Are there likely to be parameters, like less than this, not more than that? You know, this we don't know yet because we're still negotiating. I mean, I assume that there'll be a framework in place that we can tell town meeting members about.
Absolutely. We're doing our best to provide as much information as possible as soon as we know it's finalized. We have information now, but it's not finalized, and sometimes it's not helpful to mention that. You know, we're in a unique position as a town because a city, for example, could work with a big company like this and negotiate a TIF and then bring it to city council 2 weeks later. We have one shot at getting authorization from our residents and from our legislative body to move forward on a TIF like this. So timing isn't great. I mean, it would have been nice if we started working on this 6 or 8 weeks ago, but we're doing the best we can within the time frame we have to be able to accomplish this. So we'll get as much information to the board, you know, certainly at the next meeting, and definitely to town meeting on May 4th.
Thank you. I move that we recommend Article 16. Fran was going to do that now. Sorry.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
I was going to raise my hand to
Yes.
be assigned to it as well, if that's okay.
Yep.
Cool. Do you mind?
No, it sounds great.
Pardon me? Jim?
Yeah, I'll admit to feeling a little queasy about recommending it without knowing the details, but I'm willing to just simply abstain, and, let a recommendation move forward.
Alyssa?
Is there going to be a presentation required, and you're on that? Okay. And the other question I had, which I just found the answer to, this is a majority, not a 2/3.
Okay, we've got a motion, it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, got that approved. Let's see, item 18, amend zoning bylaw to changes to promote economic development.
Sorry, since the printing of the agenda, we did add an Article 17, just so you know. It's the Nagog Park Overlay District that the planning board pushed forward at their meeting Thursday night. Just wanted to mention that before you get too far down the list.
Well, let's go back. We didn't take any action on 18 yet, let's go back to 17.
And it's in the warrant, which is in the packet. This is actually very closely tied to what we just discussed, which is allowing certain types of businesses to invest in the area of Nagog Park that's already been built out for commercial use and manufacturing use. And this proposed Nagog Park Innovation Overlay District provides some more flexibility with some of the FAR requirements and some of the other requirements that are in the underlying zoning with a focus on businesses like Insulet that have sort of a scientific based operation to try to attract more businesses like that to the area. And this is something that we worked with them on also. It's part of we're doing a lot of economic development work with them, and this is something they really felt would help them be able to expand here in Acton. And the planning board had a public hearing on it Thursday night, and they recommended this version that's before you, that's in the packet.
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, I was at both hearings, and I was impressed in particular with how staff reached out to residents of Nagog Village and listened to their concerns and adjusted the zoning to provide more of a buffer. I thought it was well done, and it was an important move. I would move that we recommend this article.
Okay,
Second.
moved and second to recommend the article. Any further discussion? All in favor of recommending Article 17, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? You just need to know who's going to be assigned to it.
Fran's listed currently.
Yeah? Okay.
No, I had talked to Dean about this one potentially, but I think we could regroup on that and have Fran do both. They're both similar, so that makes sense.
All right, looking at the time, it's now 7:30, so we can continue our discussion about considering right of first refusal pursuant to General Law 61B for real property located at 46 Taylor Road. Let's see who would like to start off with this.
Is there a legal notice?
I do not have one.
Lisa says no.
I think we're continued, so we're all set.
Okay. David?
Thank you. I'm in favor of the board exercising our right of first refusal. I would like to see part of this land purchased for recreation, which should probably mean dividing it into 2 parcels, and allow a future Acton, not putting a recreation facility like a soccer field or something here now. But I don't believe that there is a lot of land in town that would accommodate a recreation field like this. Certainly not land that the town currently owns. I think this land would accommodate just fine a soccer field like the one on Concord Road, which has a dirt parking lot that probably holds 10 or 12 cars, and a field. That one on Concord Road is actually cemetery property and could be taken back by the cemetery commission at any time to expand the cemetery. Again, I wouldn't be looking to build anything there now, but if we deed restrict the property, it could never be built there. And so I would like to see this land essentially divided in half. The back half, that's the wooded half, which looks like the wooded sections of the Arboretum, would be deed restricted preserve. And the front half, and by front I mean the part towards the street, would be purchased in a way that it's not deed restricted, and could be then used by a future Acton, decades down the road for active recreation. So that's my preference. I think this land, the front portion of the land is not, not of the quality of our typical open space land. It's got invasives on it and other things. It's not a pristine woodland or anything like that. And it increases to me the value. The land is expensive, over $200,000 an acre. And to me, it increases the value of a future Acton could use the land for recreation.
Thank you. Comments from other board members? Jim?
I'm still unsure if this is a good idea to exercise the right of first refusal, but I recognize I'm in a minority on this, so I'm not going to press that point. I will say a couple of things, though, just in case they're helpful for the discussion later. The land of the Arboretum, except for the one strip which was given to the town years ago by the Donald family, that's the only strip of land that has an actual conservation restriction on it. The rest of it is zoned ARC, agricultural, recreation, and conservation. I'm thinking in particular of the land at the end of Wood Lane. There's a 2-acre lot there that is separated logically from the rest of the Arboretum. A lot of people don't even know it's part of the Arboretum. So that might be a more appropriate site for recreation. What else? About the protecting the land. I think it's really important that we protect the part of that site that's that the trails go through and a reasonable buffer around it. However, I think that the price, the 1.4 million, is way more than we should pay for that. So I would prefer that we not exercise our right of first refusal and rely on a couple of different possibilities. One is that we would come to some arrangement that would protect that back land, that would involve a sum of money much smaller or that we go ahead with, if the seller goes ahead and sells to someone that does a Habitat for All development there. I'm confident, although my fellow board members are not, that that would not involve the back acreage, the acreage that has the trails. Yeah, or that some other mechanism would emerge to, provide a lower price, a lower net price for that land. The reason, I see a lot of things that, the town of Acton is constrained on its capital expenses. So things like repairing our stormwater systems, adding sidewalks. There's a lot of things that we have been delaying for years and years that are important for the health and safety of the town. And when I weigh those out in my mind, I don't want to lose that much money to give up on those future urgent capital expenses. Thanks.
Other comments? Alyssa?
Thank you. So I'm in favor of the town exercising its right of first refusal for this property. I think that the key issue here is that the purchase by the town would protect a significant investment that the town has made over the last 40 years in the Arboretum. It's been improved over time. There are plans for continuous improvement. It is a regionally popular amenity that we have right in the center of town. As one resident pointed out, it's the only conservation area that is right in the center of town rather than in other areas. I have to admit that this was a difficult proposition for me to weigh because it is a large enough parcel that it would be a candidate for the open space residential development zoning change that we made at town meeting last year, the subdivision control law. However, it's on a very particular roadway in a very particular neighborhood. It's a scenic road, it's winding, there are a lot of stone walls, there are plenty of historic homes along that roadway. So I think that what we could expect if it was developed under that open space residential development by right zoning, also known as Habitat for All, would not be a good fit for the neighborhood. So I'm hopeful that we'll have another property that comes along that we can use as a test case for that zoning. And I think it's been very clearly communicated by residents, although some folks have suggested that we could use more housing on that property, at least along the frontage, and protect the back land. Some folks have suggested that the Arboretum is large enough as it is. I think that the overwhelming majority of the public sentiment has indicated that protection is desirable, protecting the asset that we have invested in over time. So in terms of economics, I know that we would get tax revenue for residential development. And some folks have suggested that we might get more tax revenue than is required in services if we limited it to senior housing, 55 plus. But that's not something that the town can impose on any developer that purchases that property. So there could actually be a higher cost of services than we would get from any tax revenue that comes from residential. And I also think that there's an economic development, an economic benefit for the community, protecting that asset protects property values nearby. There's certainly plenty of natural services that land provides, and certainly indirect benefits from all of the health benefits from people recreating on that land.
Thank you. Other comments? Fran?
Just short and sweet. I am in favor of the town having the right of first refusal. I do, I think it makes sense it's the perfect addition to the Arboretum. And I have no, I would like to see it preserved as open space and conservation land, so.
Thank you. And my comment is, I think the town should exercise right of first refusal and purchase the property in its entirety using CPC-approved open space funds and keep it for passive recreation that would be consistent with present use patterns of the existing Acton Arboretum. I understand that there's a desire to provide some other recreational opportunities. I think there are other spots in town where that could be done. For instance, we've still got the big field behind Morrison Farm. We've still got quite a bit of land around Woodlawn Cemetery at the rear that could probably be developed before the existing soccer field at the front of Woodlawn Cemetery needed to be used. I think from what I understand, the rate of fill for the cemetery has slowed down considerably nationwide. I think we are certainly looking in the foreseeable future, there might be some more opportunities for development of recreational sites near the Conant School, which may or may not be turned over to the town at some point in the future. I just don't feel that that's an appropriate location to build a soccer field. When the Arboretum was first established back in the 1980s, it was in response to a move on the part of the town to put active recreation in the area that's now the Arboretum, and that was defeated handily at town meeting in favor of more passive development, which is what's gone on over the years. The other issue that I have, if we attempt to use some of it for recreation, the situation of getting the funding for it, I know the Community Preservation Committee has voted $850,000 for open space. There was no discussion at that point of dedicating some of it towards recreation and some of it towards passive. So at this point, unless CPC changes course, we don't have access to the funding if we're going to use it for active recreation. So I think we should exercise our right of first refusal and put into passive recreation, conservation land, CR on it, paid for by the Open Space Fund. With that, we'd be delighted to hear some comments from the public. If anybody'd like to come forward, you can try to keep it down to 3 minutes. Please identify yourself by name and by street.
Jason Thrower, 30 Taylor Road. Kind of been speaking off the cuff here the last few times, so I prepared something to say this time. I do live adjacent to this property, so I want to acknowledge that up front. Speaking in support of this, it's a town-wide investment. The Arboretum is seemingly, I'm a little new kid on the block, only been here 6 years, but from what everybody's been saying, it feels to be true that one of Acton's most unique and valuable assets, to your point. It draws visitors, supports local business, and provides something quite uncommon, even statewide, an actual arboretum, like by definition, a tree museum. I Googled them, there aren't a lot anywhere. So yeah, rare opportunity to expand what's an already established, heavily used conservation area and a recreation area. I mean, my recreation is walking in the woods. I don't play soccer, I know a lot of kids do. But I see that parking lot packed when the weather's nice, and I drive by the fields a lot, and I see people use soccer fields, but not to the what the consistency that I see that Arboretum parking lot filled. If it gets developed, it's an uncertainty. Of course, the outcomes can vary, but once the land's developed, that decision's permanent. So to me, conservation is the only option that guarantees long-term protection from planning and investment standpoint. It's a clear opportunity to strengthen something that the town already benefits from, and of course, I strongly support it moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
Hello, Renee Solik, 26 Taylor. I'm up here tonight, I guess, kind of representing the community. I think we've all had a chance to say our piece, and you've all have listened very well. And we really appreciate all the thoughtfulness that you guys have put into making this decision, as it's such an important one. It comes with a price tag, and it comes with a long-term commitment, and it comes with our future, our children's future. I think that acquiring the land is important. To Jason's point, how many arboretums are there in Massachusetts? I know Arnold Arboretum, Acton Arboretum, and I think there's one in Western Mass. Everything else is like a botanical garden or another, I could be wrong. But I think it's important. This is a gem, and it's important to take this opportunity to expand the footprint one last time so that we can protect it for future generations. The future will thank us for this, for us having this discussion right now. So I do support this, and I thank everyone and all the neighbors and all of you guys who have brought their attention to this, and I hope that we will be able to protect it and have a good result with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
Hi, I'm Kathy Hatfield. I live at 30 Mohawk Drive, and I've been involved with the Arboretum for over 20 years. And not only have I had that experience, but I spent some time with one of the old open space and rec plans, pulling all the property deeds and all the plans for any of the conservation land around town. And I looked at all the annual reports in the library and pulled out all the information about conservation. So we had an accurate history of the properties. Not only did, Dean said town meeting very, very specifically said no active recreation in Acton Center. But it was, not only did they say that, but then town staff managed to trade off recreation rights with some parcels at the Arboretum with parcels at Great Hill. So at one time they wanted to have a ski hill at Great Hill. So they did that. So that's on record, and it happened over 40 years ago. And we talk about doing things for the future. I think we should respect what was done for this property in the past. There was a great outcry at the thought of having more recreation fields in the center of town. And, full stop, and then they made the extra effort to make sure that there could be recreation fields in other areas. So I just wanted to bring that forward. I mentioned it to someone after one of the last meetings, and they said, you should have said something, you should have said something. So I'm saying it now, because I know the need. We don't know yet what's going to happen with the Conan School property. There may be opportunities there as well, but, who knows? So thank you very much.
Thank you. Other comments?
All right, hi everybody. My name is Alex Costadino. I live at 11 Taylor Road. Full disclosure, our property looks at the parking lot for the Arboretum. We've been here for about 6 years, and I can't even tell you how awesome it's been to be a part of the community that Arboretum allows us to have. You know, we've met so many people in town, especially during COVID, where you didn't really get the chance to know anybody since you met into a new town. It was an awesome place for us to be able to do socially distant things and to actually build a community. And it really made what would have been an even more difficult time manageable with the social isolation that I'm sure all of us experienced during this time. And so obviously I'm very biased, but I think what the Arboretum has done for us has been incredible. And I really think that by actually purchasing it and using our right of first refusal, we're going to be setting ourselves up to actually pay the next generation forward so that we could have the same type of, you know, life-saving experience that my family had. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Green, 26 Captain Brown's Lane. I'm on the Conservation Commission and the Open Space, but I'm not here in that capacity right now. I just want to reiterate my support for the right of first refusal. You've certainly heard enough about the Arboretum. I'm not going to reiterate that. Just a couple things. The front part of the parcel does certainly have invasive species, but it has ecological value as well. And invasive species, particularly what is out there, can be dealt with. And I'd also say that the front part, I would certainly want to see all of it in conservation and not potentially for active recreation. It's only about an acre of upland along the front line, so there's not a lot there. And just two other small items. A private development reaching the upland in the back would be extremely difficult for permitting. Recreation in the back, active recreation in the back, crossing the wetlands is a possibility because it would have the public interest, public purpose piece of it, which is why in particular I would just as soon see the whole front part of that, part of conservation. It could be parking, anything that supports the conservation and open space use. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sandra Micah at 66 School Street. I'm a neighbor of Alyssa's, and her property backs on to Great Hill. So I almost daily walk there, but I also have been volunteering for many years with Bettina and Kathy Hatfield and Sue Whitcomb, working on the work days at the Arboretum. And there are so many people that walk there and admire what we're doing and appreciate what we're doing. And the reason I started doing it is because I wanted to learn plant material. And it's just a gem, you know, to work with these people and be able to learn about gardening and plants. And also, so many people walk there for exercise with their dogs on a leash, which is very respectful of all the plants. And the other thing is that before I started working there, my parents would come visit from Ohio. And that was one place I could take them to walk because part of it is paved. It's handicap accessible. Now, they weren't with walkers or anything, but they lived into their 90s, so it was a great place for. They can't walk on School Street. We had no sidewalks when we first moved there, but they were able to use those paved paths, and we've always walked as a family. And so it was a great thing to do with them, with the kids, the little kids, when they were visiting. So I highly support it. I think as a worker at the Arboretum, there's often not parking for me there because I'm always getting there too late. I've tried to reduce my hours because I'm not as physically able as I used to be. I'm a little bit on the older side. And anyways, there's definite need for more parking. And if that can be fit in off of Taylor Road there, that would be a great access. People are often parking on the grass areas. There's really no other place to park unless they go over to the library or Town Hall. So please support this.
Thank you. Okay, I think we got one caller online. You'd bring in?
Phone number 206, calling user.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Wonderful. This is Lauren Feld. I'm at 41 Taylor Road, and I'm sorry to not be there in person. I am 38 weeks pregnant and so need to rest in the evenings and have two small children that my husband is currently wrangling. So we really had hoped to be there in person. But I think I wanted to point out that I wanted to say thank you to so many of our neighbors who are there and point out that it sounds like there's a terrific showing. And I also think that this is a real underrepresentation of how much the community cares about this, because for a lot of people with young kids, this, 7:30 time can be a tough time to be out of the house. And the fact that so many people came, and there's emails about this and a lot of talk amongst our community of how much the community really values this land and this conservation. So I think, as others have said, very eloquently, it's such a gift to the next generation. It's also so impactful for people coming to the community, visiting the community, businesses, interest in homes here. It's such a unique gem, and the opportunity to expand that conservation area, expand access with parking, would be a really smart move with a lot of long-term foresight. And I know that there's always financial considerations, but of all the things to spend money on, especially in this community, I think that this would be a very, very wise choice. So thank you so much for everyone for coming out and for hearing us speak to the council.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments? All right. I think it's time for a motion, if someone would care to make one.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay. Alyssa?
I move that the board exercise its right of first refusal pursuant to General Law 61B for real property located at 46 Taylor Road.
Second?
It's okay enough. I have something from council if you want to read it. Okay.
You should withdraw that motion,
I withdraw that motion.
and I withdraw my second.
I move that the town, acting through this board, exercise its right of first refusal for property owned by Mary M. Donald, consisting of 5.8 acres at 46 Taylor Road, Acton, identified as Assessor's Map F3, Parcel 78, and further that the board delegate to the town manager the ability to negotiate a purchase and sale agreement with the seller for such property on such terms and conditions as the board approves.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Alyssa?
I would just like to take the opportunity to address the very high cost of this parcel. David mentioned more than $200,000 per acre, and some other folks talked about different things that the town might spend its money on. We have a lot of needs, including infrastructure needs. This purchase will most likely be made with funds that cannot be spent on very many things other than open space, recreation, housing, or historic preservation. So that's the expectation, and I want to acknowledge that it's a high cost, but as many folks have mentioned, sort of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to add that one more piece to the investment that we've made over the last 40 years. And we also have a great Friends of the Acton Arboretum, who you heard contribute a lot of time and funding to maintaining it.
Okay, other comments? Fran?
Are we not voting on the classification tonight as well, or?
Well, yeah, I
Not in
think
this
let's,
motion.
let's get this taken care of first. All right, all in favor of exercising the right of first refusal on this parcel, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I'll abstain.
All right, so we will be bringing it to town meeting with our recommendation. John?
Since you just mentioned town meeting, I just wanted to mention that we're going to be wrapping up this warrant after this meeting. So what I'm thinking is it would go in one of the placeholder spots that have been left open, so Article 13. And it would be there and it would say something to the effect of authorize the acquisition of 46 Taylor Road. And if the board, I guess you can't take a position on it yet, but that'd be great if you wanted to.
So I think that with all of that into consideration, we probably should discuss how we intend to pay for it. And I think that would certainly be worthwhile, because then that warrant article can be transmitted to the Community Preservation Committee for their decision, and that meeting will be on the 14th. So that decision from them will be too late to get in the warrant, but at least we'll have it nailed down before town meeting. So let's delve into this issue about the use of the land as to whether we're going to be using open space funds entirely and use it for passive recreation or some other purpose. Alyssa?
I'm just wondering if this discussion can take place, because the agenda was a discussion and a vote, sorry, hang on, where is it? Considering our right of first refusal.
Well,
Do you have a legal
I mean,
advice for us, John?
I think anyone interested in the property has been notified that it's going to be discussed tonight. And as part of discussing whether you're going to exercise, you may and likely would discuss why you'd exercise it. And why you would exercise it would be what you'd want to use it for.
Alyssa?
So I would just repeat what I said during my comments, that I think that it would be in the best interest of the town to purchase with open space set aside. If there is not sufficient in the set aside account, then bonding the remainder of the $1.4 million purchase price and having it be conservation land. And I think, Dean, you said consistent with the current use of the Arboretum. So I agree with that.
Thank you. Other comments?
I echo what Alyssa said. Thank you.
Other comments? David?
Yeah, I think our recreation facilities get used quite a lot in town, and people don't speak for the recreation facilities very much, but I understand right here on this board, I am probably the only person on the board that would like to have us purchase the land and have half of it be purchased without a conservation restriction, but with a restriction for recreation. You know, I don't think there's another member of the board who would vote with me, so I think that's just the way it is.
Okay, and as I stated earlier during the hearing, I'm in favor of purchasing it using open space funds, passive recreation for the entire parcel, consistent with the present use at the Arboretum. So unless anyone has any other, if we need a motion, David?
I don't think we need a motion on this unless someone else has, but I would like to make a motion that we recommend this to town meeting. If you'll take that motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
I move that we recommend this article, which is maybe Article 13, to town meeting.
Second.
moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Jim?
I think now that we've voted to exercise our right of first refusal, it's totally appropriate for us to recommend the article.
Thank you. Fran?
Aye.
Okay, all right. All in favor of recommending this town meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
And we need a select board member assigned.
And I will grab that one. Thank you. And thank you to all members of the public for your support. We're not over yet. We need a 2/3 vote at town meeting, and those are not easy to get. So be there. This will come up, I believe, the first night of town meeting. So it'll probably be the last article.
Actually, I think what I was told, Article 10 might be the last article on the first night.
Pardon me?
I was told that we might have Article 10 as the last article on the first night, because there's not many consent articles other than, anyway, everybody should stay tuned to the moderator's pre-town meeting.
We'll be speaking with the moderator shortly, so we might have some clarity on that. All right, thank you. Let's continue to town meeting articles. We're looking at Article 18.
This is an article that the board did hear about earlier on. The planning board recommended it. This is a collaboration between the planning office and the economic development office. There are several minor changes to our existing zoning that are being proposed to reduce barriers to economic development, particularly for small business, and in our existing commercial areas, making it easier for people to invest in their businesses and not get caught up in parts of our zoning that were created 30 or 40 years ago and didn't anticipate the very difficult economic climate that businesses face these days. The planning board recommends this. I'm happy to address any questions to the best of my ability.
Questions? David?
No questions. I think this is a great article. My only disappointment is that plaza signs were not addressed in this article. I wanted for years now to have plaza signs addressed. But other than that, I think this is a great article.
Okay. Any other discussion? Comments from the public? I'm looking for a recommendation, a motion.
Move to recommend Article 18.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Article 19, amend zoning bylaw related
Excuse
to
me, Mr. Chair,
non-conforming lots.
just wanted to confirm this also on, that Article 18 has Fran currently assigned. Are we okay with that? Yes, but that's why I'm asking the question. I'm just, okay.
Okay, Article 19, amend zoning bylaw related to non-conforming lots.
This is a change being proposed based on some work that the planning office did. You saw a presentation about this over the summer. Right now, our zoning requires you go to the Board of Appeals if you're going to increase your residential property by more than 25% if you're in a non-conforming lot. And that's been very restrictive, and this is changing the, I'll wait. any questions about this? It's in the packet. I'm happy to address any questions.
No questions, but I'm happy to represent this at town meeting.
Okay. Could I have a motion?
I move to recommend Article 19.
And a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Article 20, amend zoning bylaw to increase affordability requirements in the MBTA overlay district. John?
Yeah, just to intro it, this is another one that the planning board discussed last week. They ultimately did not put forward a recommendation, but they had a pretty good discussion about it. Many of you maybe were there. This would create an additional condition to the MBTA overlay district that was created a few years ago by town meeting. If you recall, the state law didn't allow you to add an affordability component above a certain threshold unless you did a specific study of the economics around that question. The town did the planning office contracted with MAPC to do a study, and this proposed bylaw change is what was brought forward as a result of what they learned. So this would increase the affordability requirements in a development within the MBTA overlay district, and I'm happy to address any questions that you have. And I know there's members of the public that also have
Alyssa.
questions.
Thanks. So I don't want to preclude any of the board's discussion or comments from the public, but because the planning board has not taken a vote to recommend or not recommend this article, I think it would be advisable for this board to not take a vote, sort of in advance of hearing the position of the planning board, should they come to one. They could have no recommendation, but I think that it might be a good idea for us to hang back as well, defer, yes.
David?
Why? I mean, we don't wait for the Finance Committee to recommend first. They don't recommend for us to recommend first. The Finance Committee doesn't wait for the Planning Board. The Planning Board doesn't wait for the Finance Committee, and the Planning Board doesn't wait for us. So why do we have to wait for the Planning Board? Especially since they explicitly decided that they're not making a recommendation.
Did they explicitly decide that, or were they going to come to it at a later meeting?
Jim?
What they said was that they were not going to make a decision. However, they took no actual vote, so it's going to be represented in the warrant as a defer. A member did raise the possibility that, I guess we could get more information later and make a recommendation. But that was not a widely shared sentiment on the board. So it's complicated. But basically, it seems unlikely that they're going to make a recommendation. There were some who were in favor of it and some who were not in favor of it and some who just wanted more information.
Alyssa?
So to answer David's question, the why, I think we should hold off until such time as the planning board makes a decision about whether to take a position, is because this would not be on, my understanding is this would not be on the warrant were it not for their vote to put it on the warrant. I don't think that the select board, unless I'm wrong, and somebody will tell me if I am, I don't think that the select board would put a zoning bylaw amendment on the warrant, even though it's our warrant. And also because of what Jim said, it's complicated. That's why I think we should wait.
David?
So I think zoning laws require, or zoning articles require both us and them to put them there. But so they've put it on the warrant. I don't see any problem with us having an opinion about it. I don't understand why that would be the case. I mean, if they didn't put it on the warrant, that's a different story, right? Then it's not for a town meeting. Frankly, this zoning argument makes me a little queasy because, I voted like most of us did, to do the study on housing, but we haven't had any applicants for MBTA developments in this zone, and now we're making it harder. So to me, it's a choice between the possibility of some affordable units or no very affordable units. And the choice between some affordable and no very affordable, I would choose some affordable, which is me leaving it the way it is. I understand I have read the MEPC report. I understand it. It might be true in the general case for Acton. I don't think it's true for this area of South Acton. So I think we should recommend against, but you know, we can move forward here and see what everybody else thinks.
Or no recommendation, right?
I think I'd favor the no recommendation at this point. You know, I think that's probably the safest move for us to make, and if anybody individually wishes to get up at town meeting and make a statement, they certainly can. Alyssa?
So I think that that's another reason that I'm feeling it would be appropriate for us to wait for the planning board to take a position, because it sounded to me, and there were 3 of us at that meeting and probably 1 or 2 watching from home, so we might have heard different things. I heard that there is a possibility that between the hearing and town meeting, they could have another meeting. In fact, I think they talked about a date. So there's a possibility that they could take a position. I definitely think that this board will have a variety of opinions on supporting or not supporting, for sure. It's on the warrant, and I think that that's sufficient to solicit town meetings' decision on whether or not town meeting supports it. But I would, the moderator is here. So I would maybe have us entertain the possibility of a presentation, not only from the select board, but from the gentleman that's sitting right in front of the moderator. I don't know if that's in alignment with past practices, but just wanted to raise that as a possibility, because I think that town meeting members should hear from everyone, from, you know, they should hear, you know, we were presented with the MAPC feasibility study, the analysis, so that information should be presented to town meeting voters, as well as information that contradicts that from a property owner in the district. I think that that would be a reasonable discussion at town meeting.
David?
Can I just ask for clarification? You're suggesting that we ask the moderator for 2 of us to give presentations?
No, just to be open to the possibility that there could be, rather than just public comment that's limited to whatever we have as the limit. 2 minutes, is that typically town meeting? But just be open to, sometimes there are presentations by members of the public.
I see.
So
Who among us would give a presentation, and what would that be?
No, I'm not suggesting that.
But one of us would give a presentation.
I don't know who would give the presentation for the MBTA overlay district.
It doesn't have
I would think it would be somebody from the planning board, but.
So the planning board has declined, always in the past, and Fran has taken most of these other zoning articles. So,
I don't recall, I believe that there was a planning board member who presented MBTA 2 years ago? Yeah, Catherine.
John?
Barring any other arrangements made, typically the select board would provide input to town meeting with its recommendation or lack thereof for any article that the board isn't sponsoring. So just like the finance committee has a chance to either say the finance committee supports this and here's why, or they could just get up and say, we didn't take a position and maybe here's why. So I think something from the board would have to come that night, or would typically come that night, and it would be one of you, and you could either say a lot about the position that the board took, or say as much as you feel comfortable with saying.
Jim?
In case anybody knows, does the law work in such a way that because we had a study done this year, we could approve this change in a future year? Or does the study only cover a short period of time? The reason I ask is because it seems like, if over the next year information was developed that either, that convinced us that in fact this would be doable, then we'd want to bring it back to town meeting. If anyone knows if that's allowed.
So my understanding is that because this process was laid out through the whole MBTA rules and regs, the study that we produced had to be approved by the state. Or the results had to be, they had to look at it and say, yeah, I guess that makes sense, or whatever.
Yep.
So I think if it were to be deferred to a future town meeting, they may require the study to be updated and for the state to have another look at it before it moves forward. But I think the State Office for Housing is pretty responsive, because this is something they're working very hard to promote. So I think we would be able to work with them on any future needs in that regard.
Follow up?
Go ahead.
If we want to, if as I do, we'd like to consider this for a future town meeting, then a more appropriate recommendation might be a recommendation to take no action. So that we're not saying, oh, we're just going to keep bringing this thing back to town meeting year after year. That's not our practice. If something gets voted down, we don't bring it back right away. But if the town meeting votes to take no action, then we could bring it back. That's my thinking.
Alyssa?
I would be okay with having town meeting vote it down, if that's the way the vote goes, and not having an opportunity to bring it back, because this is an increase to the affordability requirements, so the approved affordability requirements would still be in place. So if that's what town meeting says, the reason that we engaged MAPC to do the feasibility study was because there was an overwhelming community desire to look at whether or not Acton could increase its affordability requirements up to the maximum that the MBTA Communities Act allowed.
Okay, so we're back to it again. What's the recommendation that we're going to?
Maybe we can hear from the public.
Yes, any comment from the public?
Good evening. My name is Ian Shankman. I'm one of the I'm one of the owners of 117 Central Street, which is the Dover Heights Apartments and the property's undeveloped land in the MBTA 2 overlay district. I'm also a resident of Acton. The question the board needs to ask itself tonight is simple. Will this article help the town achieve its housing goals or prevent them? I'm here to tell you plainly, it will prevent them. First, 117 Central Street is the only property in the MBTA overlay district that has a realistic opportunity to develop meaningful affordable housing. Second, the feasibility study used to justify this article is flawed. It is worth noting that to date, no permits have been filed under the MBTA overlay, and yet this article before you is to add more requirements. It is hard to believe that making it more difficult will suddenly produce more projects. Separately, The reality is no permits have been filed in Acton because there is likely only one viable site, ours. And moving the goalpost, as this article does, is detrimental to our efforts. Let me explain. As you know, this article only affects parcels greater than 1 acre. Many sites in the overlay district are simply not going to be redeveloped, such as the ITC, Infant Toddler Center, the Discovery Museum, the train parking lot, and others. The opportunity doesn't get much better in the remainder of the district. Consider existing long-term homeownership, site conditions, septic requirements, a desire to build, and importantly, land values. Most of the properties are just worth more as a single-family home than they are as a multifamily development site. As previously stated, we are likely the only viable site. Now to the feasibility study, which concluded that the additional affordability presented in this article will not detrimentally impact development of scale. Unfortunately, the study does not reflect the realities on the ground, and it wasn't intended to. It was a study on the town of Acton, not any specific site, and as I've outlined, there's only one property to analyze. Our site has over 50 feet of elevation change. Our site would require a full on-site wastewater treatment plant. As such, construction and ongoing costs will be significantly more than the average site. On top of that, the economic return metrics utilized in the study are simply not realistic. Returns needed to be higher, and if they were, the study would come to a different conclusion. Returns aren't just about profit, they are margins of safety. Without enough margin to absorb risk, geopolitical uncertainty, and rising material and labor costs, projects don't get financed and they don't get built. As such, no affordable housing will be produced. In closing, as the Select Board, you are in a position to evaluate not just the intent of this article, but its outcome. Voters supported zoning changes that would lead to affordable housing production. If this article moves forward, it will not shape development, it will decide the fate of it. In practice, this article will only determine whether one project, our project, the only likely project, moves forward or doesn't. And I'm sitting, telling you clearly and directly, this article will likely make our project unfeasible. This will not result in more affordable housing, it will result in no housing at all. I respectfully urge you to not recommend this article. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jim?
I had a question for you, if you would be willing to stay. Does this mean that you are planning, if the law doesn't change, to go ahead and apply for a permit under the MBTA 2 zoning?
We have been working towards that. We're doing engineering, hydrogeology. There's a whole lot of steps before we can file a permit, but we are working towards that effect.
Thank you.
David?
So I just want to point out here that the motion usually comes from us, right? So if we don't decide whether we're, for example, we could move that we adopt the zoning changes in the bylaw, in the article, or we could move to take no action, right? So we need to decide what to put in the motion, and it's based on our recommendation. If we defer, we don't even know what presentation to make for town meeting. We need to, so if we decided tonight that we wanted to take no action, we'd have to have a presentation explaining why we wanted to take no action. If we decided tonight that we wanted to adopt this bylaw, then we need to make a presentation telling town meeting members why they should vote for that. I think we should recommend one way or the other, and if the recommendation is from us is against, I think we should consider taking, moving to take no action. And that's why the planning board was queasy about it too, right? They were not gung-ho either way, right? And one other thing, there is no time for them to have another meeting. The only meeting that they discussed at their last meeting was in a pre-town meeting. Again, there's no time there to develop a presentation either for or against. So I think we kind of have to come up with something. And usually we would present. Members of the board have usually been the ones to present zoning articles. Catherine, in that case, was an EDC member, so she was not a planning board member, right? She just asked to do it, and everybody thought she'd be a good person, and so we all agreed.
James Fuccione, probably from the planning board.
We
He presented as well.
Right, but often it's been a member of the select board who presents zoning articles. I presented one, I think Alyssa's presented one in the past, Fran, I think you've presented one in the past, and you might be presenting two other ones at this town meeting. So, and Jim is going to present one at this town meeting. So I think we need to decide what we want to do and move forward with that in mind.
So I would move that we move to take no action on Article 20.
Second.
All right. Discussion. Alyssa?
What does that do in effect?
Well,
For-
it'll appear in the warrant. But
If the town meeting approved taking no action, or we would take no action and the town meeting wouldn't have an opportunity to vote on it? That's what I'm asking.
John?
So the article is on the warrant, well, it's on the draft warrant. And if it goes to town meeting printed, the way that it was in the packet, at the bottom, it would say recommendations. And I think right now it says planning board did not take a position. For the select board, it would say select board recommends taking no action. And the finance committee will, whatever they say tomorrow night. That's how I would do it from administrative standpoint. Perhaps the moderator could provide some insight on how she would interpret something like that happening at a meeting, if she's around.
So if you recommend take no action and the planning board has no recommendation, the town meeting can choose to say, we agree, we won't take any action on this article, we'll pass over it. There could be a circumstance where somebody could get up and oppose that and persuade town meeting that we should discuss it. I've never seen that happen. And particularly if planning board and select board would care to give a reason why we're not taking any action, people might agree, be more likely to agree than, disagree on that. There's been, plenty of articles over time, well, I don't want to say plenty, but some articles over time where because of one reason or another, which could probably fall in the same bucket as these reasons, it just makes sense. It made sense at one point, but now, upon further reflection, does not make sense to bring to the town meeting unless somebody decides otherwise. But I think that's what would happen is people would agree that it's not appropriate, at least at this time. It could come back later, as you say, and it could be adjusted, there could be a new study, you could decide on different amount, whatever, it could be different, but by not taking action, it doesn't bind you to anything in the future.
Alyssa?
So that was what I meant by in effect. It doesn't prevent us from bringing it forward. It's not like postpone indefinitely where we can't ever take it up again in the future.
Right, well.
Or whatever that motion
Right,
is.
postponing indefinitely, but then you could change the motion.
We could change it, okay.
So that it would do whatever thing you decided you wanted to do later.
So can I speak to the motion?
Sure.
So I would not be in favor of moving to take no action because we don't have further analysis in front of us. We have testimony in front of us. And so taking no action, we would be asking town meeting members to agree with us that the consultant's feasibility analysis that the state approved is flawed based on testimony. And I mentioned this at the planning board hearing. One of the costs of any project is land acquisition. Any residential development is land acquisition, which is not factored in this particular case. So I'm opposed to taking no action, and I will vote as one member of this 5-person board.
Okay, well, I made a motion. Could somebody second that? Okay. Moved and seconded. I think, we've beaten this thing to death. So I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of the motion to move to take no action? Go ahead.
So would this, I'm just looking for a position to present. And I think that taking no action gives us a position to present something, whatever it is. Okay.
All right, all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Okay. And Fran, your name is still on it, so you can speak to it. Article 21, amend zoning bylaw related to accessory dwelling units.
The ADU bylaw was modified slightly last year when the Attorney General's office reviewed it, like they do every bylaw that we change. They identified one word that they didn't like, and so this is just striking that one word. I believe it was the word permanent. So they just didn't like that one word. So all we're asking to do is take it out, and then the AG will be happy with this, what the town meeting had already adopted. It's listed as a consent item. I don't know if that will fly, but that's how we've listed it for now. Maybe the board could weigh in on that also while we're here.
Okay, comments? A motion?
I would move that we recommend this article.
Second.
Moved and seconded to recommend the article. Any discussion? Alyssa?
I think it's acceptable to put it on, or keep it on consent.
Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
This is once again yours. Like if it gets pulled off consent, you would have a presentation or at least a comment, like to say, we like agreeing with the Attorney General when they order us to do something. We think it's a good idea.
Article 40, municipal administrative hearing process. John?
This is just something that when we issue fines, there are certain fines that we're not allowed to actually implement unless we have appointed a municipal hearing officer. And because of Mass General Law, we're not allowed to appoint a municipal hearing officer unless we've accepted this statute. So we're just asking town meeting to do that. And an example would be a fire code violation. A fire code violation right now, we just ask for compliance. We ask a lot for compliance, and we urge for compliance. If we ever got to a point where we couldn't get that compliance, we wouldn't be able to issue a fine because we don't have this in place.
Alyssa?
I move to recommend Article 40.
Second. Can I ask a question, though, before we vote?
Sure.
Is this an annual thing or just a once?
Once this is adopted, we're all set. We can decide who that person is on whatever basis we determine, but once we accept it from town meeting once, we don't have to do it again.
Thank you.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
We need to assign a member.
I think it's got my name on it.
Okay.
Okay, Article 10, Item 10, discuss town meeting presentations. John, Jim, anybody?
Yes, so thank you. I think every year, as the warrant shapes, as we get the warrant kind of in final shape, we work with the moderator to figure out what each night would look like, or what a night would look like, if we were going to hold town meeting in the way that makes the most sense. And part of it is, this board also, it would be helpful to have some clarification on any actions that it wants to take. You know, in past years, we've had members record presentations at ActonTV. That hadn't really been discussed much this year, but if we were going to do that, now would be the time to say it and work on it. If we want to try some other methods, we certainly can do that. We mentioned already the public meeting we're having next week about a couple of the articles. We've had a ton of budget meetings that were publicly televised. So those are some of the things that we wanted to cover in this conversation, and also have the moderator here to provide any input she has on presentations and format and consent agenda and things like that.
Madam Moderator, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you. I think we've solidified quite a few, or at least in my mind. So first of all, it does look like 2 nights would be in order. And I was thinking at one point of stopping after CPA, but I'm starting to feel like it might be better to start Tuesday with CPA. And I'm open to changing that, but then with putting the Taylor Road purchase right after that, I feel like those should be together, that you're going to have, the people who are interested are going to be the same folks, I think, and they do kind of go together. If the funding does in fact come from CPA, that would make sense to have those tied together. And ending with that, I think, would be kind of late, very late even. Based on experience, I think we could finish up through, it's not on, I don't know if it's on your document up there, but up through Minuteman Tech Assessment. So the town budgets, the capital items, the Acton-Boxborough assessment, the Minuteman assessment, would take us up to close to 10 o'clock usually. And then if we begin with CPA on Tuesday, we'd probably finish close to 10 o'clock again. I'm just, based on what I'm hearing about these zoning articles, that I think will involve some discussion from the voters. That seems like a sensible dividing point, unless other people have other thoughts. But to kind of get that in our minds.
I think that seems like a good idea. I agree. CPA and 46 Taylor Road have to be on the same night, so it's probably a good way to start Tuesday. Get a crowd out there.
Well, that's true. More people might come and stick around for some of the zoning things, which is a challenge often. And I saw John had his hand up.
I would just mention that 11 is a new financial article that's never been there before, and 12 is a new financial article that we haven't really had before. Those feel to me like first night items, 11 and 12.
So are we locked in on the numbers on the, can we?
Yeah, these numbers aren't changing. That's why the
Okay.
placeholders are there. So I think 11 and 12 feel like first night to me because of, they're appropriating reserves and things like that a lot of people equate with the budget. OPEB.
Mm-hmm.
Jim?
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
The good thing about 11 and 12 is that there's no big constituency that's going to come out to town meeting in order to make sure we either pass or don't pass these things. So I know it's been wonderful in previous years, the last couple of years, where we've been able to say in advance, we're going to stop at this article. But I'm okay with the notion of leaving this in the hands of the moderator about, if it's really late, let's not do 11 and 12 until the next day. There's no law that says we have to do all the financial stuff on the first night.
There is also the option for the moderator or anyone else to move, well, I can move stuff without a vote. But if somebody did move it, we could take a vote, or I could call it out of order, depending. But that could be a game day judgment call also, because as you say, there's not it doesn't seem, at least I've not heard of any huge constituency being concerned one way or the other. And it seems like a pretty standard article that folks will be fine with however it's presented and vote yes or no. But it's not like we're going to be tricking anybody by changing it up a little bit, I don't think.
Alyssa?
I like the idea of taking the articles up out of order in order to keep the appropriations together. I think that would have the added benefit of having us go a little longer on night one. I loathe adjourning at 9:30 or 10 on night one and then going until 11, 11:30, even midnight on the second night, because we've not taken up enough business on night one and pushed ourselves a little bit.
I think that's probably a popular position.
Other thoughts?
I agree. 11 and 12 should be short. I've already started to outline the presentation for 12, probably take me a minute or two. I haven't timed it yet. It's not a long presentation. I don't think there'll be any controversy.
Right.
I'm guessing that Alyssa can explain 11 in a similarly compact period of time. So I don't think either of those will take a long time. And like you said, you can move them out of order. I'm fine with them being flexed. The only thing is we need to set the public's expectations.
Sure, yeah.
So we either have to tell them that we may go up to 12 on the first night, or we're going to go up to 12 on the first night and not do 10. We should tell people what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Right. Yeah, I think that would, and I think people will be okay with that. I'll hear, if not now or later, but. And I do want to encourage, as ever, brief presentations with more pictures. Have as many pictures as possible, because that's what people need to understand, especially on the zoning ones and anything related to land or whatever. Could I just take this opportunity to tell that there are a couple of, so there's the meeting next week on a couple of the articles. April 28th, the League of Women Voters is hosting a drop-in from 5 to 6:30 at the library. To hopefully, if anybody has a question, they can just come in and ask their question and be on their way, or a couple of questions. The pre-town meeting will be April 29th. And now I forget, is it here or the police? I can't remember now where it is. It's in my calendar, I'll go there. Okay. And just a reminder to people that there will be childcare the first night, some kind of child-friendly movie, and that people should be aware that they can request reasonable accommodations if they don't see an accommodation that will help them participate. And they would call town hall, and John will take care of referring them to the correct person to see what the accommodation might be. Rides are available. The number is in the warrant. It's also on town website, Crosstown Connect. You do have to call the day before, just so that people know that. And you get a ride home to and from. And that folks can park on the Hayward roadside if walking from the front of the building, all the way through the school, up to the check-in, and then to the meeting itself is a difficulty. People should park on the Haywood roadside, and there will be somebody there to check them into the meeting right there in the lobby outside the auditorium. So folks should know that. There will be, I think we're having the wiggle room. Is that accurate? In the gym area? So people can bring your own children and keep track of them. It will be in the gym, and if there is need of overflow, obviously, that would be in the gym as well. But you can bring your kids and they can wiggle or whatever they want to do. But then the parents can also participate in the meeting from there. And I would just remind people that our clickers are actually, like, amongst discussions I've heard in different online forums about clickers, many people feel that if you're at town meeting, your vote should be known. And that's an impediment to some people. But some people cannot say aye or nay loud enough, cannot raise their hand, and cannot stand. So the clicker really is an accessibility issue. So I'd just like to remind people of that. And we do, of course, have the talk-to-text captions, or whatever the correct word for that is. Just as a reminder to all of our viewing audience that, yes, we do try to make the meeting accessible, though you must be present to vote, except with rare exceptions.
Thank you. David?
Madam Moderator, do you happen to know for the League of Women Voters drop-in, is there anything that a presenter like one of us might need to prepare? Do we need to have an easel? Do we need that? What do we need?
Well, so hopefully, so one of the plans, part of the plan was to have the town staff people who are the experts on some of the articles. We're not actually asking people for every single article to be there, but for the major ones and ones where people tend to have questions. But yes, having some visual aids, yes, that's the word I'm looking for, and handouts if you had them, but the visual is definitely important. And I believe they will be, anything that's generated will be on display in the library up until town meeting, so a weekish, less than a week. And just a reminder to people that you can always call the number. I bet you guys don't get too many calls from voters with questions on the articles. Like at the end of every article, it says, contact this person. It's kind of like college professors waiting for kids to come to office hours. So just throwing that out there too, so people might take advantage of that.
Okay, other questions from the moderator?
All right, so have you discussed town meeting presentations, or is that dealt with now? Or I just want to know if I'm staying a little bit longer or I'm not staying a little bit longer.
David?
So, I intend, I don't know exactly what the timing is. I'm going to produce an article for, what is it? I'm sorry, produce a presentation for Article, I'm looking at the wrong thing, Article 6, the HVAC one. I'm happy to record it at ActonTV. I think that does help. I'm a little concerned about the timing, and I can connect with you guys offline in that usually we do the recording before the middle of this month, and the night for the DPW and HVAC is the 16th, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll need to decide whether I produce my presentation first, have that second, what the order is there. I was also going to produce a little short presentation for Article 12, which is the transfers one, but really short. I'm happy to record that too. I might need a little help making sure everything is correct from the finance department on that one. But and I don't think there's a time impediment there. So anyway, I'm happy to record mine for ActonTV.
Dean?
Well,
Just a quick comment on the night of or the day of the League of Women Voters things. Our plan is to have somebody do quick videos, like 1 minute of the people. So why are we doing this thing, whatever it is? So that might help. It might be a rehearsal or it might be a refinement, but then it would go on League social media.
Pre-recorded video,
No, somebody's coming up to you and saying, oh, we should pay for this, how come? Or, you know,
I understand.
whatever, something like that. Just a quick little 1 minute, 2 minute thing.
okay, as far as the presentations I see, I'll do the DPW project. Hope to get it recorded in advance at ActonTV. And I think based on votes tonight, I'll do the same sort of thing for 46 Taylor Road. I don't think I'm going to pre-record much else other than that. I guess a question for Fran is, the tax increment financing and everything else related to that could be a very complex presentation. I don't know who you're going to need to meet with in advance.
Planning. But I was planning on doing, 16, 17, and 18.
and 20 and 21, according to my notes.
Well, those might be quick.
Anyway, if you want to give up one, I only have one this year. I've always had more than one. I'm happy to do 16 if you want me to do 16.
Oh, no, I want 16. I chose that one. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, Alyssa.
So I volunteered for the budget, Article 4, the municipal operating budget. So I'm planning a presentation for that. I was not planning to do a recording at ActonTV because I thought that was something we weren't doing because we were doing all of these other things. But I'm happy to hear from board members if you think that that's one that typically gets a lot of views on ActonTV. I think, David, you recorded it in the past. And the other articles assigned to me, I was not planning presentations, like the opioid settlement. I think that's just a motion up on the screen.
I think the ones that get done at ActonTV work best when you have more to explain than the 5 to 7 minutes we like to have at town meeting. Like, it's more complicated, we've got some more. And then people can watch it at their own pace and stuff. But if it's a straightforward budget, there's nothing, out of line, you might not need that.
Go ahead.
I do have a question, though. Are folks who are attending the league's information session, have they already been alerted? And will there be a quorum of any boards and committees that we need to post?
Mostly, people have been alerted, and mostly they are not on boards or committees.
But David's going to be there.
Oh, so I am not doing anything for that.
I do have to confer again with my co-conspirators, but maybe not.
Okay.
More action is going that way. No, they're not my co-conspirators. If you think about it in a minute, you know who they are.
Okay, other points? Jim?
The only item I have that's not on consent is number 19, which the presentation will be short enough that I don't need to record something beforehand. So I don't think I'll be using ActonTV this year.
Okay. Other questions, points? Jim?
I'll confess I'm a little sad that I'm not doing another presentation. I'm a ham. I like to stand up in front of people and say things. But I appreciate that other people are doing all these great things. So if anyone does feel like they're doing too many, I'm happy to help out. But I'm also happy to just coast my way through my last town meeting as a select board member.
Okay, unless there's anything else, I guess we'll move on to our next agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing.
One more thing. You're doing capital, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so there will be a presentation for capital.
I will do a presentation with capital, but it's going to be quick. I will not pre-record it.
Okay.
Just slides up on the screen and talk through them very quickly.
Sounds good. All right, thank you.
All right, update on DPW project. Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if you recall, we had mentioned as a team that we're anticipating on having cost estimates back end of last week. And unfortunately, we were notified on Friday that it would be a little delayed. So that's why you didn't receive something in your packet over the weekend. We were notified late this afternoon that they were in, and we, being Dean and I and John, were able to discuss it individually and as a group with PMA and Weston and Sampson. And while the numbers aren't ready to be released just yet, because I still have to reconcile them and make sure that what's included on the cost estimate is what's included in the schematic design, we do feel confident that we can bring the project under $23 million at this point, which if you remember back to Arrow Street is a significant decrease for this phase of a project. So we're in a pretty good spot. We anticipate on having a reconciled cost estimate in the next few days. We, the project team, will loop back with PMA and Weston and Sampson and review that. And then when it's in its final form and ready to be shared, we'll make sure that we send that to the board as well. And the $23 million project, and less than $23 million, I should note that that's total project cost. So that includes construction, soft cost, contingencies, owner's project manager cost, continued design. And then now that we're starting to talk more about construction cost and the final project cost, that also includes a commissioning agent who, similar to what we had at the fire station, North Fire Station, will be on hand from design all the way through the end of construction for all the mechanics and machines that are being installed, mechanical systems and machines that are being installed at DPW.
So, yeah, I think that's a really good number. It's taken a lot of work, and I think both Arrow Street and Weston Sampson done a great job, PMA as well, to get it down there. And I got to give credit to DPW types who, obviously to cut the size of the project down that much, they've had to make some significant compromises. So, and they've done it with a real spirit of cooperation. So I'm very hopeful about this project at this point. And Alyssa.
Thank you for that update. It's very good news. I just have two quick questions. So you said that that was the total project cost, including design, which is the $900,000 in Article 7. That's incorporated into that?
That's one of the items that we're working on reconciling right now, and we'll have a confirmation later this week.
Okay, but we're talking about including that in addition to all the other things that you listed.
That's correct. That's a number that's been carried.
And can you remind me what the original estimate from Arrow Street was for 4B? Was it 28 million?
I believe it was nearly $30 million. I think it was 29 million, nine something, but I think 30 million would be a good number.
Okay, so this is a big reduction.
It is, it is.
Awesome.
David.
But it's a big reduction, but it also doesn't include the renovation of, okay, but yes. So it's just not apples for apples.
Yeah, we did get some conceptual costs for what renovating the existing building, which we're not proposing at this point, but add those in, you're about to that number.
Okay.
But it's not something that we're going to undertake at this point. Any other questions on that? Okay. Update on Acton Leadership Group. John?
Yeah, I'm pleased to report that the Acton Leadership Group completed its task for the budget season. It reached consensus on a plan for funding FY27 budget, and it reached consensus on the forecast for the future years going out to 2031, with the understanding that there's a lot of variables, but that this is a good snapshot for how we are forecasting and planning for those future years. So another successful ALG process, good communication between the Select Board, the Finance Committee, and the Regional School District. And the writing has gotten smaller because we've added a lot of detail to it, but the warrant is published as a PDF, so people can zoom in and look at every little number that they need to. But it is in the warrant now, and yeah, we're excited to have that behind us. I think it went pretty well overall, so I don't know if there's any other comments.
Hey, yeah, thank you. There's a good sense of collaboration between everyone. We got to that point finally. So. Item 13, approve questionnaire to send out to board and committee members regarding the appointment process. Jim?
Yeah, so Alyssa and I have been working on this, and in consultation with the Volunteer Coordinating Committee. And this is all part of the Select Board goal, the long-term goal that says, work with Volunteer Coordinating Committee to create a plan for the future of volunteer recruitment and onboarding that includes improved orientation and streamlined reappointment process. Part of that, achieving that goal seemed to us to understand where we're at now so that we can, figure out where we want to get to. And what we're looking for from the board tonight is permission to send out a questionnaire to the committee, the board, committee, and commission members that are appointed by the Select Board, to explore the different aspects of becoming a committee member, from, finding the application, to waiting to talk with the VCC, to, all the steps. The questionnaire itself is in the packet. It maybe is not entirely final. We did get some great, I thought, good feedback from a VCC member a day or two ago about some possible extra questions to add. So I guess I would be asking for, permission for us to send out a questionnaire, and also permission for us to, work on the final wording of it. Now, it could be that because of the timing of things, that it will not make sense for us to send this out in the next 4 weeks because of, everyone's busy with town meeting. So, and in any case, looking at the results of the questionnaire is going to take some time. So, as I did with my previous items, I just want to encourage the board to, after they reorganize, to consider, seeing if there's maybe two people that want to work on it, so it's not just sitting in Alyssa's hands. So that's it. That's the basic pitch. And there might be questions or comments.
I guess the question I've got is, are you looking to approve the particular questionnaire, or is this more of a conceptual discussion and maybe it'll be taken up later after town meeting?
I guess it would be easiest for us to have the board trust the little working group to make little tweaks to the questionnaire. But, happy to get lots of any feedback on the questionnaire, but I think it might be unwieldy to attempt to approve the exact wording of the entire questionnaire as a board discussion, if the board's willing to trust us.
Thank you. Other comments? I've read through it, and they seem like all reasonable questions, and I think it's a great way to try to tease out some support. So I'm supportive of approving this, and the questionnaire can go out when it's finally edited and in the proper time. I think it's something we could carry over into, the next reorganized board as well, so, but at least you'll have the vote. So I would move to approve that. Get anybody to second it?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions?
Just to make sure I understand what the motion you just made, and so that it's correctly reflected in the minutes, I think you approved the notion of sending out a questionnaire, and you approved the notion that Alyssa and I would come up with the final wording. Is that what you said? Okay, thank you.
That's what I said. All right, all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay, drum roll. We've all been waiting for. Item 14, the town manager's valuation. Let me start off by first thanking Mary Beth Zabek, who did a great job of compiling all of this information. And thank you to all the members of the board who've provided great input and lots of feedback. And I believe that basically all comments that were made have been included in this particular document. This is about my 7th time, I think, of going through this in one form or another with various with John. And let me say just up front, I think that I did meet briefly with John about a week ago, went over this. I expressed at that meeting that I thought that this was a very positive evaluation, and I was pleased with the process. I've had the opportunity to work directly with 6 town managers, and I've made this comment in the past that I think that of the 6 town managers that I've interacted with directly, I think John is probably the strongest of the lot. So I think the evaluation that we've got here reflects that. It reflects my point of view. I think it certainly reflects the point of view, I think, of the board as well. So I would ask all of you to make any comments that you'd like, or John can react to it, however we'd like to do this. John?
I'll react. Sure, I'll react. I appreciate your comments, Dean, and members of the board. It's an honor to be a town manager. It's something that I worked really hard to get to a point where I could be considered for a position like this, and I was very excited to be in this room 8 Aprils ago with my interview and getting selected here. I didn't know that I'd be here 8 years later, but I'm very happy that I am. I think this community has a lot that makes being a town manager pretty special. The staff that work here. We have experts and professionals that are pulling a lot more weight here in this organization than most communities have in their organization. So we're really lucky that we have such a strong team. So being the town manager is a lot easier in that scenario. And with the select board, each of you bring a lot of different strengths and passions to your roles here. And your interactions with me have been very helpful, and I appreciate your support. I appreciate your acknowledgement of the professionalism of the staffs and what we're trying to do, and that even though you're all willing to work 30, 40, several hours a week, that you also make sure that you do that in a way that is consistent with how the staff are working on the same paths, and I think it's worked out really well. So I appreciate, it's been really helpful with the continuity that we've had with the board. I think I've been here 8 years, and I think the last 2 or 3, or maybe more, the board's been the same. So that's unique, right? That doesn't always happen. So I appreciate all of your support and your thoughtful comments in the review, and all just your support throughout the year. So thank you.
Okay, do any of my colleagues have any comments? David?
Well, thank you, John. I agree with the review. It's, again, I hope you take it as a very positive review. I think we're lucky to have you here. I happen to be talking with someone else who's running for select board in another Middlesex County community. I won't say who, that this person described their town manager, and I'm, oh dear, I could hardly believe what the things that I was hearing, and so that's the town manager that she was describing was all the way over here, and you're all the way over on the other side to me, and I feel that we're very lucky here in Acton to have you, and I appreciate that you push all of our different goals that we come up with every year, and move those forward as well as you can. Thank you.
Jim?
I'm so pleased you're our town manager. I struggle each year when writing the reviews because I know that, this is your first town manager job. We have a responsibility to help. I mean, you're a teenage town manager. You're not a baby town manager anymore. But there's still some, we have this responsibility to give you, to find ways to help you continue to grow. Luckily, you do a lot of that on your own and through your professional contacts and your work with MMA, and in consultation with other town managers. So you've definitely continued to grow. Some of the things that I notice are that, every so often, I realize what different positions a select board member is than a town manager. I mean, that I'll speak for myself. I can be relatively loose. I can be, have opinions about things that are controversial, and, I'm a politician. I get away with it. It's okay. You are excellent at finding ways to be either neutral or fall back on, this is a select board goal, so of course it's important. You don't interject your own agendas into things. And I think at first, that came across as, what's John really thinking? He's not coming out with what he really thinks. And now, I feel like you've grown to the point where there are situations where you can be more relaxed or more passionate about things that you care about. You're finding those places where you can bring your unique perspective to things, and that's really valuable. And that wouldn't have happened right away. It takes some years to do that, and I hope that continues to happen. Just, best of luck. And I'm so glad you're pleased that you've been here and that you will continue to be here.
All right. Now, in the process, what we'll do, I presume, at our next meeting is we will have an executive session to look at the contract. And hopefully we'll come to an agreement on that. And we will be all done with that before town meeting. I will take one more motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We're done. Thank you.